lenticulars. Yeah, it's just lenticulars, and we have sort of a storm coming, but not lots. I mean, there's no reason for this to be here today. There really isn't. But I'm good to go. Look at that. I'm zooming in. Huh. Wow. That's 3 planes that did this. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's more than that.
I was just thinking of, well, you can't see it for
4, 5. See 5. 1, 2,
wow.
3, 4, 5.
There's something in this. Huh. Alright.
What?
These fat trails. This is a full wingspan. Guy, we've watched him come across the valley. You can see that. Look at all that. I'm going to run behind a tree here pretty quick. So I might have to move, but look at that. It's not vapor. That's something else entirely. Look at it. And then there's the trail. Look at that thing. Then it just ends. So about here is where the full mixture begins. And then they're working on the lenticulars again. And so what was he interested in? Trail fades, reemerges, and then he's about to go behind the mountains. So it's this fade and emerge episode right here. That was the target of this flight. He was interested in this. And then they just keep going. They just keep working. See, there's an interesting track right here. An opening here that he's kind of bisected. Even it has a little brighter seam down the middle of it, and ripplings on either side. Often, with ripplings on either side, they'll be of a perpendicular angle. So this one is being north-south. This one on this side would be east-west. I've seen that more often than not. But they're right in your face today. They're right in our face. There's just this different rippling. You can see this up and down vertical. Continues on here. Here's one at a very different angle than here. So there's all these multiple wave patterns. They need the trails to keep them constrained, or to gauge the impact that each one of these different patterns is having. And they need the trails to do that, to see how the trails fly with the wind, get smeared by the trailing, the tracks, because these tracks individually will either slow down the parcel of air as it tries to run across it, like speed bumps, or the tracks will actually run this way into the wind, or accelerate the wind. Both happen. I've seen that on the time lapse. But here's a great example of multiple patterns. Multiple patterns. He just turned it on. I was watching him and thought, I don't need to record anymore. And then boom, on it goes. Reddish tail. Not southwest, but something else. And you can see he started at this other trail here. Then he came up into here. So the object was this. Plane's finally taking a break, and so the skies clear off. Imagine that. Still have this one sitting up over here. That's his point. That little place where it kind of shears off. And then you can see all the other patterns patterning going on over on this side. But that's the point they're interested right there. Is the trail is different on this side than it is up here and out of the cloud. And then back behind us, the plane we were just watching left this guy, and then they're still trailing and pumping the atmosphere to the north. Maybe we'll end up with blue skies by the end of the day. I'd really like to get the telescope out tonight. You can see how this trail is through the cloud. So it's not up above him, the low. These planes are low. Low, 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 low. They're in the teens to low to mid 20,000 foot range. And that keeps them largely beneath the commercial traffic. So we could have this whole fleet doing what this whole fleet needs to do meteorologically, and you can leave the commercial guys alone above, more often than not. You can see this one, how it punctures the cloud right there. Still a few planes. You can see one fat trail there. Yet he's right at the cloud level. He's right there. He's on it. He's in the cloud. They're not flying over the clouds. They're in the clouds. And these clouds are just arcing over the mountains. There's another one up here. You can see these lenticulars. And they're not uniform in wave. Look at all of the different patterns in here. This is unreal. I challenge any government-employed meteorologist, climatologist, somebody who believes they've studied, what is proper with the atmosphere to explain this. How do you explain this? And then how do you explain the interest of the aircraft to hit specific locations? And then to have those trails deform, to smush, move, tear, and then to have other planes come along and be very, very interested in the marks that the first trails have left behind. This is unreal. And where are the Americans? Are we awake or are we asleep? Where are we? It's time to wake up and look up. This sky is not right. And it has not been right for a long, long time. These little planes just keep pulsing these lenticulars. Now, the big ones have come, but it seems like the job has been handed off to the little ones over the last couple of hours. And they're still there, but there's these little hot spots. And there's this stuff. This texture. This patterning. It's just, it's not as pronounced as it was 3 minutes ago. But it's just not right. You don't get this in an atmosphere where there's lenticulars. It's supposed to be a fast-moving stream of air over a ridge, over a rise. Something that compresses the atmosphere. And we get condensation, but not this chaotic, jumbled mess. This is wrong. I'm just sorry. We've lost our National Weather Service. And the local weathermen are just effing idiots. Nearly every last one of them are just fucking idiots. The problem is they don't even know it. They're so arrogant that they think they know what's going on. But they're idiots. They don't know what's going on because they're not watching. They're not watching with an open mind. They're watching with rote answers that's been programmed into them. I was there. I've been programmed. This stuff isn't natural. Wake up, guys. Wake the fuck up. Yep, they like these lenticulars. They like these wave clouds. You can see that right through there. You got actually a bit of a shadow through there. But that was the target, through that little opening at the edge of that cloud. This disk cloud, this square cloud. Now over here the clouds are getting a little more wave. That was a little joggly, sorry guys. But there's texture in here. You see the boiling action. Next to boiling, we'll find waves. And of course it's all got to be quantified and measured and just to see how it's moving with the bloody trails. I don't know why they decided they need to spend millions of dollars here on this every day, but it's worthy of their attention. Rippling here with a counter direction up in here. Here's another one that was sputtering. It was just sputtering. Now it looks like it's sticking a little more. It was just sputtering. Oh well. That's that. He didn't really leave much over here. So about 2 hours ago, the skies just went clear. The lenticulars faded away, and the planes largely disappeared as well. We're still left with some of them occasionally flying through, like this Delta 757. But they're not the same kind of chemtrail. They're just kind of surveying the sky a little bit here and there. They're not leaving the big marking ones. They're still flying low. I mean, don't get me wrong, this guy is low. And he's just about at my meridian, so we'll hear him shortly. But as soon as the lenticulars ended, and we've got a storm coming into the northwest. So I could see some lenticulars, but we're truly at the southern extent of what should be visible in the wake of clouds, with the storm now moving through Idaho and Montana. But as you can see, the skies have gone west. The moon coming in, still have another chemtrail down here, a smaller one. But we're very much approaching sunset. The plane count has gone down. And I trust just to know not a whole lot's going to happen the rest of the night. And our beautiful Sangre de Cristos with Challenger Peak behind me. That's it. There's a plane coming in from the west. See him there. Riding on the air. All right, everybody. Keep looking up. How did I lose it that quickly? There it is. Big jet this morning. This big 747 just went through this 2-eyed object right there. That was the objective of this path. Probably this curl as well. I love these little curls. Up here would be this mark in combination with this. Right in through there. So there's always some target. What are they doing up there? They're measuring and marking. Most of the time it's measuring and marking. Measuring and marking. Leaving particulates up there to see where they float, how they float. Get them integrated in with the clouds so they've got a grip on the clouds. What are they doing? They're measuring and marking. And giving this stuff some grip on the clouds. So they have an electrical hold on the weather. It really is pretty simple. There's something there. This whole thing. Monday the 22nd, after 10 in the morning, slightly different lenticulars than we've had the last couple of days. Little chemtrail involved in that depression or the blue space there. And then we've got another one that's just come out. It had a nice little arc to catch the end of this depression. And then this rise, but he's curled up and out. These are a little more, I don't know if you want to call anything natural anymore. You can see different wave action here versus here and then versus here. And he knew it. And pretty much as soon as I saw this guy, then this cloud has begun to form into shape. And then you can see the waves compressing up against the cloud coming in from the west as the storm begins to boldly move into the west. It's going to be here for a couple of days. But this looks more natural than the ones over the last, earlier this month. But still, the waves are pretty pronounced there. And in time lapse, you can see how these chemtrails essentially get squished or compressed like an accordion. as they come on in to come over the mountains. So the chemtrails come in straight, they hit the lenticular and then collapse or get compressed. Because there's something up there resisting their free flow movement across the mountain range. And now this is formed, and the cloud has continued to fill in. I might have to put time lapse up here and watch this happen, but it's still not a wholly natural event. Otherwise, it would be one shape and not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more. Tuesday, 23 September. Haven't shot anything yet today, and this morning was kind of partly cloudy, nothing exceptional. And then around midday, and I was not able to get outside. We just had this incredible display of trails and these valley standing wave clouds that are constantly investigated by these planes. And I'm going to see this one just rolled overhead, and you can see them off into the distance. But more importantly is how these trails are flaring out. And it's showing, this one's in the shade here, you can see the gridded action, right in there. That's easy to spot. And then we're back into the shade, and then the trail breaks and essentially fades away as the plane then continues off to the east. And honestly, just looks to look like a regular plane, but bloody hell, we know he's not. He's a chemtrail plane. And it's this dark spot. It's like where, how do I say it? You're skipping rocks across a stream or a pond. And these spots are where the atmosphere is going through a depression. And you can see up here, we've just had another plane, this guy, just gone through this spot. And this plane here, through the cloud, not above the cloud like commercial craft, but through the cloud. And then another plane over here, again with the pink trails, the orange trails. You can see the color difference is moving across. And there's more wave action that's beginning to manifest. And then there's this smooth separation between this kind of cloud, here's the boundary, and then the rest of the cloud. And so we have just some standing waves that are just going to be here for a while. So I'm going to kind of pop in and out and see how this puppy evolves over the next little while. There's the dogs, always checking things out. This has been pretty cool. I've had time-lapse shooting off this direction. I got to find a way. My P2 is not being friendly with Final Cut, so I'm not able to incorporate that in very well. I don't know what's going on. I'm not too excited about getting a new camera or something. But look at these splashes. Boom, boom. You see these spots? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at these. What the heck? What are they? What are they? That's not something I have answers for, unless we're dealing with some kind of lasers from space, and that has to be a possibility. I've seen pictures of lasers punching through clouds and the lasers still being intact through Hurricane Rita. That was on the CNN front page. I got a screenshot of that. And so there's technologies up there that are just not discussed. But what are those punch holes? What are those punch holes? And you can see them, just kind of through there. Again, if you're watching this, please go into your settings and watch it at 720p. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. And see this depression here. That's another spot that would be worthy of flights. That's another rise or depression in this standing wave. That's a spot worthy of investigation by these chemtrail flights. Alrighty, back in a bit. Got the moon coming up. And of course all the waves in front of it. Chemtrails off in the distance, kind of on a downward slope. And just these ticks, they were using these ticks. They started about 10 o'clock. And then these wave clouds, these standing wave clouds, showed up at about 1:30, and then they've just kept reinforcing them through the course of the afternoon. So it really has been a pretty spectacular day. I just didn't get outside as much as I would like to have. This trail right in this spot. See how the smoother part here, different than this side, this cloud up here, then how the trail just kind of changes, ekes in. We've got different cloud on this side versus this side at this point, and then it continues. And we're seeing more hashed up waves inside here. I mean, we've got the ones going right to left, and up here we've got a little mottled or some other shorter wavelength stuff being interjected. From what? Who knows? We're in a very energetic, rich area with all kinds of dimensional portals here in the San Luis Valley, especially in the mountain behind us. It's been famous through time for all of this. So there's our sunset with the sun kissing the San Juans, the cumulus clouds. One day we'll talk about these cumulus. They're just their structure and their shape inside them. I mean, this guy here, you can see the flat bottom. You notice on the left side, about halfway up, you've got this tongue that sticks out, and this tongue is churning. And this is a very common shape. Over on this side, we've got this indent here, this hole. Well, I'm really zoomed in. I'm like 80 power. And when the clouds are a little more, let's just say it's day, post-frontal, there's cold air instability. We'll talk about these cumulus and these incredible shapes which are seeing the globe over within the cumulus. There's a tick up there, chemtrail action. But just, no, I can't even see. It's too, I need a little smaller pointer. No, can't do it. Anyway, I'll have to wait till they're a little in better shape, and then we'll have a talk about cumulus and how the resonance vibrations rolling through the atmosphere really shape them. They really shape them. Way off in the distance, you can still see some more trails. We still have this pretty impressive Pacific storm coming in from the west. The cold from it will arrive tomorrow, so we're likely to be breezy tomorrow. We had all kinds of winds. There's a nice rotating tube there. More trails. Sounds like a car coming up the road. But then we're at the end of sunset. Alright, everybody, keep looking up. All these trails off here, you know, undulating over the tops of these standing waves and curving down. There's two right here. We've got a mark there that it had to cross over, and you can see the powders, how they are drooping or dripping out of them rather than being in an area of updraft or uplift where the powders are on the ascending part of the trail. But these are all descending powders. And then we're, you know, this is my favorite time of night to be out, or my favorite time of day, right at sunset or sunrise. And you can see how it's not condensation. It's not condensation. You can go back and look at, you know, contrail books from the 70s, and there's still this powdering action. But when we look at patents, and I think this program has been around much longer than any of us would really like to admit. You know, I'm seeing contrails displaying an intent as far back as the spring of 1957. And that's a long way. That's a long way to rewind that this program is going on. So I just wonder, you know, what aspects of the Pentagon have been compromised for that length of time. The contrail up here, this guy, goes through a zigzag and then drops and comes on over here. And right where that happens, we have this one that runs across like that. So there's great precision to this. There are no haphazard flights. None. None whatsoever. Everything is with precision. Everything has a target. Everything has an intent. Look at this. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Look at that tube. Look how that's firmed up. And then the trail going right through it. And that may be in the distance. That very well may be in the distance. I gotta stop this and get a still. The little loop shape collapsed. And I'm sure that contrail was behind it. Absolutely certain it was behind it. But nevertheless, the juxtapositioning or the line of sight was pretty cool. No? Very cool. A nice little divider here between those two cloud types. Kind of a seam here between this part of the cloud and then this part of the cloud. And the waves overhead, and they're illuminated from below them. And then just this texture in here, which is all kind of cool. Alright, road's staying busy, so I'm done. Thanks, everybody. Through the cloud again. Through the cloud. Through the cloud. Through the cloud. In a way, they're just evil. Right on this edge. Right on that edge. And right through the middle of it right there. Let's see what this is. On top of this cloud. Kind of have the light below it, so the shadow might be difficult to discern until we see the cloud actually being disturbed by the movement of the air. But that was his target. Incredible waves overhead. There's that plane's action. I thought I was done. Ha ha ha. And these ripples down at the bottom have shown up since he flew through. And then another one, this was a Southwest flight, or painted up to appear as if it's a Southwest flight. You know, they've got to have technology to deal with these planes. Anti-gravity aircraft carriers, if you will. And in doing so, they can do all of their airborne operations without these planes ever having to touch the ground. And you keep the mechanics, you keep the fuel, you keep the payload supplies entirely separate. No reason to intermingle. No reason whatsoever. And then you don't have to answer questions that you'd just as soon never have come up. If you don't have to have these planes touch down on civilian property. But then again, in this country, what is civilian and what's government? We know the air is decidedly owned by the government. The states have no rights. No rights. It has all been defaulted to the feds. So, out here will be interesting. The joint there. Anyway, that's that.